Okay, so welcome to the second video. So we're going to be working in a live set and just creating some Max for Live devices that explore how we can work with note data, so using pitch and velocity of MIDI notes, and working with control data, so using the control value and the controller number. Okay, so if we open up Ableton Live, let's just delete these tracks, and just so we've got a MIDI track here, and that's it. And we are going to go to Max for Live down here and make a Max MIDI effect and drop that in. We're going to make sure that we've got our MIDI coming from our controller, and we're going to monitor the input of that. So if I just play my MIDI keyboard, I should see some data coming in. Okay, now let's edit this. Okay, so we're going to just get rid of this, and what we're going to explore first of all is note in. Okay, so we can extend that a little bit here, and we can connect up some live dot number boxes. Okay, and just see what's happening here. Oh, not quite sure what happened there. Right, so if I play some notes, let's just change that around and copy that again. So copy by Alt dragging. Let's make this nice and neat. So our first number is pitch, our second number is velocity, and our third is channel. Okay, so we can have pitch, velocity, and channel. Okay, and remember you can format your comments by opening up the inspector. Just doing that. Okay, now one thing to notice, if I press a note and then release it, okay, when I release the note we generate a note off, which is the note with the velocity of 0. Now if you're just interested in the note ons, as often we are, then we can use something called strip note. So the strip note basically looks for the note offs, so anything with a velocity of 0, and gets rid of it. So if I just copy these down here, like so, and then we can see that we no longer have the note offs there. Okay. Now something we can do with this, let's just make this a bit neater. So I'm just going to select all of that and stick it up here. Like so. So if we were looking for a particular note, then what we could do is use select. Okay, and we could go, okay, let's look for a note value 60. Okay, so we could connect that to strip note there. So we're detecting the onset of note number 60, and we'll just connect that to a bang. So if we play a particular C, then we should see a bang there that corresponds to note 60. We don't if we see any other numbers. Okay, so that's one thing we could do. We could also detect a sequence of notes. So let's say by going using match. So we could go 60, 61, 62. Okay, so we can detect a melody, a bit like in Batman where they opens the Batcave using the piano. Okay, so if we play C, C sharp and D, then it detects that sequence. Okay, more on that in score following, which we'll do in the next lecture. Okay, so that's working very simply with pitch data. Okay, control data. We can look at this using control in. Okay, and then again, let's look at the data that comes in from our controllers. This is like our sliders and dials and so on. Basically all the gadgets on our controllers that aren't the notes, pretty much, that aren't the keys. Pads will sometimes be notes, sometimes be controllers. It depends how they're set up. So what do these correspond to? Well, the first one is actually the value of the controller. Okay. The next one is the controller number. Okay, and the last one is again the channel. Okay, so let's move some sliders about, see what happens here. Okay, so there's the value as I move the slider up and down. The control number is basically which slider it is. Okay, if I move a different one, you've got a different controller number, and you see the value changing again. Okay, now I might want to work with this and use it to control something, but I might only want to do that. I might want to have different control numbers assigned to different things. So what I need to do is use this as the identifier here, and then this is the value that gets passed on and linked to my system parameter. Okay, so in order to work with this, what I need to do is something called buddy, okay, which joins these two numbers together. Okay, but I want my control number, I want that to be the first one. Okay, and then I want to pack these into a list. So I use pack 00. And this only outputs when the control number changes. Okay, so if we look here, we've got a hot and cold inlets for pack. So that means this will only output here when we have a change here. Okay. Then what I can do is use something called root, and then use my I was pointing at the screen then, and use the control number then to separate out the different values. So I could say root 21 and root 22. Okay, like so. Okay, and then we'll have another couple of number boxes here. Okay, and then I should see, right, it should be 20, not 21. Okay, so if I move my first slider, there we go, that's the first one. If I move my second slider, and that should be 21. Nope. Okay, there we are, controller 20, that's my first slider, control 21, there's my second one. So I've managed to separate out those different controls. So that is probably the most important thing about working with notes and controllers. That is the fundamentals of it. Of course, with yours, you're going to probably see different controller numbers there. So whichever numbers you see there, you can put in here. And you can obviously extend that so that you can see your controller data coming in.